All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go from Sonoma. Cale Spicer and Patrick Pieper on the front row. Vic Brown, Bradley James on the second. Richie Joplin, Colby Whipple in the third. Points leader Clay Kirchenbauer and Jason Leonard on the fourth. Shane Hoffman, Jay Briette rounding out the top 10. Andrew Thornton starting in 11th next to Richard Cragen in 12th. Jeremy Queener in 13th. Zach Mead in 14th. Brian Hewitt in 15th. Joe Lux currently in 16th. Kirk Marble starts 17th. And Andy Wilkinson in 18th. Tyler Ott, Eric Wolkowiak round out the top 20. Mark Dantuma, Chad Ragsdale, Ryan McDaniel, Colton Johansson, and Larry Waits round out the 25-car field here at Sonoma. Everybody getting stacked up on the grid. Hey, good evening, Richie. Good luck. Now, this track does have the walls up. As you come down to the horseshoe, that'll prevent guys from spinning into the infield, which could cause some stack-ups. They will do a full lap of warm-up. 35 laps here tonight, looking at 12 to 14 laps on a tank of fuel for the drivers. Cale Spicer, one of the newer members of C12, but has been very fast in every race he's been in. Patrick Pieper, one of the best road racers out there. But newcomer Jason Leonard from Sunday Morning GT3 NSS, you know he knows how to run a road course. Can he do it in an 87? Hey, Austin, you're supposed to be on track, buddy. It would have been cool if they had done a standing start. I was kind of hoping for that myself. "25 cars take the grid here tonight." Let's hear in the comments, how many do you think will be left at the end of the night? This is one of the oldest road courses on the NASCAR circuit. It has been around since before I started watching in the 80s. So everyone has seen the track, knows the way around it. But do they know how to get the most out of their car here? The pace truck dives in. Here they come through the horseshoe. They'll stack up and get ready to fire right after the kink. Cale Spicer in control. Here they come out of the kink. The green flag flies. They are underway at Sonoma. And Cale quickly clears Pieper into the lead. Up through the S's on cold tires can get a bit sketchy. And already some 3 wide mid-pack. Looks like that was Tyler Ott going up the middle on the attack. Now happen on the straight. Some close calls with the wall back behind. Everybody's still going. Andrew Thornton appears to be having connection problems. Can he hold on? Jason Leonard is going off track behind. Cale Spicer leads him into the horseshoe. Pieper right on as Richie Joplin's battling for third. Whipple has had a problem. And Cale will lead lap 1. And let's see if we can get a look at some of these early incidents. All right, there's Jason on the power. Got loose, got tapped, went around. Colby Whipple coming down through the S's. And in a four-wheel drift into the dirt, manages to save it. Then a moment later, Andy Wilkinson also coming down through the S's. Just a little too much power, goes a bit wide. Well, the first lap definitely eventful. As Cale brings him around to complete another one, Pieper's still right there. Pieper right to his bumper through the horseshoe. Richie Joplin now up into third, Vic Brown in fourth. Bradley James holds on in fifth. Clay Kirchenbauer in sixth. And man, they had put a gap on Whipple back in seventh. Has a few more problems back behind. All right, there's Jason Leonard coming up the hill. A little too much brake, just shoots off the track. And a moment later, Brian Hewitt also coming up the hill. Too much of the rumble strip, he goes wide. And Joe Lux back behind, also getting too much of the rumble strip, off track. And coming up the hill in lap 2, just seems like they don't have as much grip as they did on the first lap. And we've had a big incident back behind, including Richie Joplin, Bradley James, and Vic Brown. Looks like there might be trouble. Let's see what happened. All right, first off, Joe Lux coming back up the track again. Loses it over the top of the hill into the tires. And coming down into the horseshoe, Bradley James looks to the inside, but gets loose, and Vic and Richie get together. Looking down from the chopper, there you see him trying to shoot to the inside. Vic gets the inside on Richie. Clay Kirchenbauer managing to sneak by. Wow. Close call for Whipple. Ryan McDaniel has also had a problem. He is still rolling. Seen a couple of cars already headed into pit road. Ryan on the brakes into the horseshoe just a little too much. And a close call as he gets the car recovered, then loses it again. And gives the wall a little smooch. Definitely a bumpy start early in the race. Several cars having problems. Cale Spicer still has the lead. Patrick Pieper in 7th. Clay Kirchenbauer almost 9 seconds back in 3rd. Bradley James in 4th. Colby Whipple now in 5th. Richie Joplin recovers in 6th. Vic Brown in 7th. Kirk Marble in 8th. But Eric Wilkowiak and Bob Ross on the march up 11 spots into 9th. Jeremy Queener currently in 10th. Richard Cragen in 11th. Chad Ragsdale up 10 spots into 12th. And Wilkowiak appears to be in the wall. Eric is rolling again, but man, he lost some ground. All right, a moment ago, Shane Hoffman, he gets a bit of a bump from Craig, and he goes around. Jade Briette was coming through the horseshoe, but on the power, snaps around. And Tyler Ott managing to avoid Shane, but into the next turn, a little too much brake. He snaps around. Larry waits. His engine is let go. And then we saw Bob Ross and Eric Wilkowiak go off into the horseshoe a little too deep. And man, what a hit. Cale still out front, followed by Patrick Pieper. But Cale is pulled out to a 3.3 second lead over Pieper. Wow. Patrick really cutting it close. Clay still holding on to 3rd. And we have had several more incidents. Bradley James in 4th, Richie in 5th, Vic Brown and Kirk Marble battling for 6th. Let's see what else has happened back behind us. We've got a few cars that have headed to pit road. All right, Colton Johansson headed toward the horseshoe. On the brake, snaps around hard to the inside wall. Andy Wilkinson coming out, doesn't realize there's a... Wow, he gets Jason Leonard, and they both go to the wall. Quite a few cars now coming back off pit road, and a few headed in like Bradley James. Cale Spicer's lead about 3.7 seconds over Patrick. Clay now 12.25 seconds back in third. Richie almost 5 seconds back in fourth, but Kirk is on his bumper. Kirk now 12 spots into fifth. Chad Ragsdale now 14 spots into eighth. And another driver on the move up. One of the very good road racers, Mark Dantum, up 11 spots into 10th. Colton Johansson, despite that damaged car, up 8 spots into 16th. Austin, you should have drove faster. You'd be out here. And the leader is already into lap traffic. That did not take long. Tyler Ott has ducked into pit road. Larry Waits is back out, as is Joe Lux, Jason Leonard, Andy Wilkinson, and Shane Hoffman. Everybody trying to stay in the fight as long as possible. Points picked up here tonight could be huge with so many drivers opting out of the road course. Eric Walkowiak about to lose a lap as Cale looks to his outside. Kirk Marble has moved up into fourth, pushing Richie back to fifth. Kirk about 5 seconds behind Clay. Can he run him down? And Colby Whipple is in. Colby was in the top 10 a couple laps early for a pit stop. Remember, these drivers are looking at 12 to 14 laps on a tank of fuel. Kirk Marble currently in fourth, is closing the gap on Clay. He's now 4.2 seconds back and closing. Cale continues to hold a 3.5 second lead on Patrick. The last couple laps of Patrick has been the faster car. Chad Ragsdale, at the moment, the biggest mover in the field, up 15 spots into 7th, 2.5 seconds behind Vic in closing. And at the moment, Ragsdale is the fastest car on track. And we may start seeing the bulk of the field come in next time. Laps into this, they do have to stop about every 12 to 14 laps, depending on how hard they are running. Shane Hoffman has just jumped to pit road. Andrew Thornton back in 11th. Remember we mentioned, there it is, having some connection problems. But hey, if you're in Enid, Oklahoma at the end of the month, he and I will be announcing the Monster Truck and Tough Truck competition in Enid, Oklahoma later this month on the 28th. We'll have more info on our Facebook this week, so make sure you're following on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and the YouTubes. Patrick Pieper still about 3.5, so a little bit wide for Pieper. He's coming in. Cale Spicer is also in. Will Clay stay out to pick up the points? No, Clay Kirchenbauer ducks in. Kirk Marble is going to stay out. Will these be fuel only, or will they take tires tonight? Likely going to see 4 tires and fuel from most of the field. Maybe not. It looks like fuel only. Out Cale's doing fuel only. Pieper is up for tires. And Richie Joplin has got a penalty on his way in. Kirk Marble did stay out, picks up a bonus point. Jeremy Queener also picked up a penalty on his way in. Zach Mead has had a problem. There's Zach headed into the horseshoe. Same thing we have seen multiple times. Hard on the brakes, snaps loose, but keeps it out of the wall. Kirk Marble and Chad Ragsdale both in. And Cale Spicer gonna reclaim the lead after his fuel only stop. Hey, good evening, Gerald. Why aren't you out here? Mark D'Antuma also bringing it in. Patrick Pieper is gonna reclaim second here, but due to the longer pit stop, he is now 14 seconds behind Cale. He has to hope those 4 fresh tires will allow him to gain some ground. Richie back out on track, but now has the leader on his bumper. Zach Mead is on his way in. Mark D'Antuma on his way out. And the leader now back in heavy lap traffic. Brian Hewitt, Richie Joplin, both right ahead. And you know Richie is not going to go a lap down easy. Richie was in the top 5 until that penalty. He is going to keep fighting. Oh! The leader was hard on the brakes and overshot, but Richie also overshot a bit. Looks like Chad Ragsdale now in third did a fuel-only stop as well. Patrick Pieper on those 4 fresh tires is closing in on the leader. Last time by, Peeper was a second and a half faster than Cale. Hey, good evening, Tina. How are you? Points leader Clay Kirchenbauer a little wide in fifth. Kirk Marble right behind him in sixth. Kirk up 11 spots now. Doing good. Mark Dantuma holds on to ninth after a stop. And Andrew Thornton, not known for road racing, currently in 10th. Ragsdale has had a problem. Chad Ragsdale had fought his way up into third. Man, what a setback. Let's see what happened. Oh, Chad battling with the lap car, trying to get by. Wow. He does manage to keep it out of the wall, but man, what a setback. Jason Leonard appears to have had a problem coming out of the S's as well. And we may be seeing the start of some attrition in this one. And Patrick Pieper, who was gaining a lot of ground on the leader, has suddenly slipped way back. Trying to find what happened to Pieper. Let's see if we can take a look. There's Patrick, and oh! Trying to get around the lap car, Jason Leonard coming out of the S's, does a 360, gets rolling, but that cost him a lot of that time he had made up. Jay Briette also back in. Patrick had slipped almost 20 seconds behind. He's already chomping back up. Now less than 17 seconds behind the leader. But man, oh! He overshoots coming up the top of the hill. Clay Kirchenbauer still holding on to third, but Kirk Marble in fourth, right on his bumper. Chad Ragsdale in fifth, closing back up on him. Vic Brown currently in sixth. Bradley James has seventh, Colby Whipple in eighth. Mark Dantuma in ninth, and Andrew Thornton in 10th. Richie Joplin has fought his way back up into 11th. Brian Hewitt currently holds on to 12th. Zach Mead in 13th. Jeremy Queener in 14th. Tyler on at 4 spots into 15th. And Colton Johansson has had a problem. There's Colton trying to regain some ground after getting the car fixed, but on the power, he just snaps around. Andrew Thornton had a problem a moment ago. Richie is capitalizing. He's now just 1.7 seconds back. But the leader is still right there behind him. All right, there's Andrew Thornton. Had a bit of a gap on Richie, but on the power, snaps around. Does get it pointed the right way quickly. A moment later, Ryan McDaniel coming through that same area on the brakes just loses it and does a 360 as well. And a moment later, Eric Walkowiak headed into the horseshoe. He gets on the brakes. That damaged car snaps the wrong way. Richie Joplin now right on Andrew's back bumper as the leader is right behind him. Oh, Richie on the brakes slides through the S's. And Andrew Thornton has had a big problem. He is still having a problem. Richie Joplin now back up into the top 10. Let's see what just happened with Andrew. Andrew coming down, almost out of the S's. A little too hard coming out. Bounces off the wall, almost has it saved. But when he gets back on the power, it snaps around on him again. Andrew dead duck into pit road. Richie still holding on to the lead lap. Bradley James also coming in. This is a couple laps early. Patrick Pieper now just 15 seconds back in second. He continues to close in on the leader. Kirk Marble now in third. Chad Ragsdale in fourth. Clay Kirchenmeyer still holding on to fifth. At the moment, Chad Ragsdale, the biggest mover on track, up 18 spots. Kirk Marble, though, up 14 spots just ahead. And Mark Dantuma up 13 spots into 8th. Holy cow! Colton Johansson goes off track right in front of Richie and the leader. Bradley James also has a problem. All right, there's Colton coming up the hill. Manages to clear, but does get into the wall. Bradley James makes it to the top, comes over the top on the power. Wow, what a close call. Bradley gets it towed in. It's definitely been an eventful race so far. Patrick Pieper now less than 14 seconds behind the leader and closing. Kirk Marble in third, Chad Ragsdale in fourth. Had a big bobble there. And he is coming in, should be within the fuel window. Clay Kirchner back into fourth, Vic in fifth, right on his bumper. Colby Whipple now up into seventh. Whipple has some damage, but still in the fight. Mark D'Antuna in eighth is closing in on Colby. Colby's coming to pit road. And this should be final stops for the field. And Cale still unable to get past Richie. Chad Ragsdale back in sixth, excuse me. Having just completed his pit stop, is trying to run down Clay Kirchenbauer. Vic Brown has now moved into fourth. Kirk Marble in third is actually gaining ground on Pieper in second. Pieper still about 14 and a half seconds behind Cale. And Brian Hewitt has just moved up into ninth. Brian having a pretty quiet night here, just keeps picking up spots. And the leader is in for his final stop. Now, will he take tires on this one? It is a long pit road here at Sonoma. He hits his pit stall. Will he take tires? Yes, he is going to take on tires. Pieper takes the lead for the first time tonight. Vic Brown is in, as is Clay Kirchenbauer. Andy Wilkinson also on pit road. And Tyler Otis had a problem behind. Tyler, I don't know what happened there. There's Tyler as he comes into the horseshoe. We've seen it a bunch of times tonight. Gets too deep in, slams the brakes on, slides wide, gets on the power, gets rolling again. Patrick Pieper is in for his final stop. Kirk Marble is going to stay out. He'll take the lead for the first time tonight. And Pieper is taking tires. Richie has completed his stop. Cale Spicer in second. It's starting to gain ground on Kirk. Patrick Pieper in third. About 14.8 seconds behind Cale as Thornton goes wide and is blinking. Chad Ragsdale still holding on to fourth. Vic Brown in fifth. And Kirk Marble is in. Cale Spicer is going to come by and reclaim the lead here. Patrick Pieper a little wide through the horseshoe. He is losing ground to the leader. Chad Ragsdale now in third. No, maybe not. Kirk Marble did a fuel-only stop. Kirk comes out in third, Ragsdale back in fourth, but Chad is closing in. Vic Brown back in fifth. At the moment, the fastest car on track. Nine laps to go. Cale is pretty much got this one wrapped up as long as he keeps it pointed the right way. Patrick Pieper currently 14 1/4 seconds back. But both drivers being on fresh tires, it does appear Cale has the speed. Well, I may have spoke too soon. Patrick Pieper just set the fastest lap of the race, 1:21.55. He was over 2 seconds faster than the leader. And Colton had a problem. There's Colton coming down the hill. On the brakes, the back end steps around on him. And the leader slips by. Joe Lux loses it out of the horseshoe back behind. Zach Mead is in for his final stop. Cale Spicer's lead is shrinking. Now 12 and a half seconds. Pieper was a full second faster than the leader that time. Kirk Marble still holds on to third, but Ragsdale 1.25 seconds back in closing. Well, he got close with the lap car of Joe Lux there. Vic Brown back in fifth, Clay Kirchner in sixth, Mark Dantuma now up into seventh, Colby Whipple in eighth, Richie Joplin in ninth, Jade Briette has quietly made his way back to 10th. Chad Ragsdale still the biggest mover in the field, up 18 spots into fourth. Cale cranked it up that time. He was just over half a second faster than Pieper. The gap, but still 13.9 seconds. Richie Joplin currently in ninth. Colby Whipple in eighth is just about caught Dantuma. Whipple goes a little too deep into the horseshoe. Dantuma able to pull away. Five laps to go for Cale Spicer. His lead holds at 13.7 seconds over Patrick Pieper. Patrick still the faster of the two that time by. Kirk Marble still holding on to third. Chad Ragsdale has lost some ground. There was Chad just about caught up to Kirk coming up the hill. Big drift. Wow, manages to avoid everything. A close call. Shane Hoffman did the same thing right behind. Cale Spicer now just 4 laps to go. Kirk Marble has had a problem. Kirk had been marching forward all night. Goes off into the horseshoe, too tight into the wall, and the car snaps around. Chad Ragsdale slips by. And a heartbreaking moment for Kirk, who was pulling away in third place. Chad Ragsdale now in third, Pieper in second. Pieper just 11.4 seconds behind the leader, Cale Spicer. But 3 laps to go at Sonoma. Pieper is putting it down now, trying to close any gap he can. The gap now down to 10.5 seconds and closing rapidly. Andrew Thornton has had a problem behind. Andrew had been in the top 10 most of the night. Just too hard on the brakes. And, wow, does the 360, keeps her going. Cale Spicer coming to 2 to go, but his lead less than 10 seconds. Patrick now just 9.5 seconds behind. Chad Ragsdale still holding on to third, but Kirk is trying to reclaim that podium spot. He is closing the gap on Chad. Well, on the upside for Cale, right now it does not look like he's going to be in any lap traffic in the next lap and a half. Patrick Pieper is going to have to fight through a little bit. Pieper now just 8.5 seconds behind. Andrew Thornton had another problem. Down into the horseshoe one more time. Cale will head through the kink and pick up the white flag. And there it is, white flag one more time around Sonoma. And Patrick lost some ground. His chance is gone. Let's see what happened. And Patrick had closed within 8 seconds. Just a little bit wide, kisses the wall. And on the brakes, the car snaps left. Man, that heroic charge ended badly. Cale Spicer comes out of the S's the final time. Out of the horseshoe for the final time. He qualified on the pole. Just dominated here tonight. Cale Spicer wins at Sonoma. Patrick Pieper will hold on to second. And Chad Ragsdale, an epic charge to come home in third. get a word with our top three here in just a moment. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, Home Motorsports is on track. Followed immediately by the Unicorn Trucking USA. All right, let's talk to our top three, starting with Chad Ragsdale. Chad, that was one heck of a charge, up 19 spots.
Yeah, man, not getting any practice kind of hindered me, and then botching my one qualifying lap really threw me for a loop. And knowing that I didn't have practice and didn't know what the car was going to do, I knew it was kind of gutsy shooting 3 wide on lap 1, but it's what I needed to do to get to the front as quickly as possible.
That was a gutsy move, especially where you did it. But man, it paid off. We saw you make a few other gutsy moves, but it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I'm really kicking myself for trying to pass Shane in the S's, because I knew I jumped Kirk on pit lane because he took tires and I didn't. And I was like, I just need to keep putting space. And I knew a lapper would help me. I just didn't want to give up the time. And I just got too gutsy and took myself out of it and put myself way farther behind than I needed to.
Well, man, you definitely had one heck of a run, one heck of a charge tonight, man. Congratulations, a great finish.
Thank you. I can finally podium something this year.
I have a feeling you got more to come, man. Great job.
I sure hope so. Thank you.
Oh, he's definitely going to be on the podium more. Let's see if we can talk to second place Patrick Pieper. Patrick, I honestly thought we were going to see a last lap battle, but with 2 to go, it just kind of went sideways.
I don't know if there was going to be a last lap battle. I thought that, honestly, what happened there was that first pit stop, he made a mistake not taking tires because he got out pretty early, but as that second run wound down, I was catching him like 2 seconds a lap, and I had lap traffic in front of me, and they couldn't pick where they were going. And they lost it, and then I lost it, and I would say my margin of victory from that mistake alone was wide enough to probably cost me the win. But I also made a mistake there at the end. But also, Cale seemed like he drove a great race. I mean, I was just shocked they didn't take tires that first run. And then I also want to say to the lapper, sorry for blowing up in the Discord, but also too, it's not a good look when you say it's your first time running a car when you join a league.
Well, man, a great job, a great finish, a great charge too. Congrats, buddy.
All right, thanks, Doug.
And finally, our winner, Cale Spicer. Cale, that was pretty dominant.
Well, thank you. It was a big hallelujah. We made it to the end there. This thing's like wrestling a grizzly bear.
Heard a lot of drivers talking about what a handful it was tonight, and saw just about, I think everybody but you had some sort of issue tonight.
As the game plan coming in here is try not to fight the track too much and just get around.
I have to ask, was it accidental not getting fuel only on that first stop, or did you intend on not taking tires?
Yeah, that was a plan. I thought I could get in and out a little bit quicker than what I did there with fuel only, but I was happy to wait till that second stop to change the tires. They're still pretty healthy after that first stint.
Well, man, it was a heck of a run, a dominant performance, and a heck of a finish, man. Congratulations.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Just want to give a quick shout out. Quick shout out to Phil and Phil's wife here. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to them, and congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
Cale Spicer pulls off the win, and man, it was pretty dominant there. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Hope y'all had as much fun as we did. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, a lot more excitement to come. We will see everybody then. Have a great night, y'all.